What's going on? The NBA season is just a few days away. That means that it's time for me to give my NBA standing predictions because it's really interesting to see where each team is kind of starting the season. But trying to predict right now where they're going to end at the end of the season is, just fun at the end of the day. Without saying anything else, let's get right into it. Okay, so I'm just going to use this tier list with 1 through 15. I got all the NBA teams right here. And we're just going to go Eastern Conference, Western Conference, or vice versa, and go all the way down. Or we're going to start at the top or the bottom? Let's start at the top. So, in the top of the Western Conference, I honestly think that the Thunder will probably just end up as the number one seed once again, potentially the number one seed in the entire conference. This is a young team that just won the finals last year, but all these players that are key players on this team will only get better in this next year. That includes Shea, that includes Jay Will, that includes other role players outside of just Chet Holmgren as well, who's like the third option there. But that could also mean people coming off the bench that didn't get to shine as much, like a Usman Jang, who's looking like he's going to get some more rotation minutes this year. And then in the Eastern Conference, it kind of comes down to the Knicks and probably the Cavs, maybe the Magic. Detroit could also come out and be on fire to start the beginning of the season. And I guess if Embiid was actually healthy, then the Sixers, you'd have to kind of consider them. But we'll talk about the Sixers a little bit later when we get to them. So the teams that I think this is actually between would be the Knicks and the Cavs. But I know that Darius Garland's going to be missing the beginning of the season. And I just don't know if but what's funny is over the last couple of years, a lot of the times when one or more of the bigs or one or more of the guards is out, they actually play a little bit better during the regular season at the very least. So that would be interesting also. But I think I'm going to go with the Knicks, to be honest. I think that they're just going to put it all together this year and just be that team that's maybe not far and away the number one seed, but edges out just a little bit. I'm going to leave the Cavs there at number 2, though, in the Eastern Conference. In the West, at number 2, this is a good question. There's a couple of teams that I could consider here. So I think I'm going to go with the Rockets, to be honest, because I think that Ime Udoka is just going to have this team freaking crazy on defense. They got Kevin Durant now to be one of those offensive outlets. It does suck what happened with Fred VanVleet, but at the end of the day, I think that Şengün's going to be another year better. Amin Thompson, I really think that he's going to have like a real breakout season this year. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Rockets look at the third seed in the West. I'm going to go ahead and say that it's going to be the Denver Nuggets. And I don't think too much needs to be said there. I think this is arguably the best team that Jokic has played with as far as from a depth perspective. Because yeah, you don't have MPJ there anymore, but I think that the guy you got traded for is honestly going to fill that role maybe a little bit better than MPJ even did. And you have the Tim Hardaway Juniors and the other role players that they signed. They got Bruce Brown back coming off that bench, and they finally have probably the best backup center that Jokic has had since the Yusuf Nurkic days before he got traded to the Trailblazers. So for all those reasons, I just think that the Nuggets are going to be just a little bit ahead. Oh, I'm jumping ahead, but I got the Timberwolves at 4 in the West. But let me go back to the Eastern Conference real quick. When it comes to third place, I'm going to go ahead and put the Orlando Magic right there. Because I just think Paolo is going to be so freaking good this year, yo. I think he's going to be on one of the all NBA teams this year. I think Desmond Bain is a really good fit on this team. He's going to give Paolo and Franz someone that can really play off them from the perimeter. If Franz even gets a little bit of that shot, which I feel like he will because I feel like it's just been hammered into him. It's been a couple times that they've been in the playoffs now, and it's really kind of hindered their ceiling in those series. So I think that if Franz gets that 3-point shot up just a little bit, the extra shooting from Desmond Bain, and then Paolo jumping up a level, yeah, they could arguably be the number one seed this year. Fourth seed in the Eastern Conference, this is where it gets a little bit tricky in my brain, but I think it's probably going to be the Detroit Pistons. I see that they're kind of like the Magic going to have a season where their young players just kind of take a little bit more of a leap forward. I think Asar Thompson is going to have some growth, just like I think his brother will. I think that Jalen Duren has an opportunity to really solidify himself as one of the better centers in the NBA this year. Jaden Ivey is finally going to be back from injury, and he was looking good with the team before he did get injured. So I kind of want to see him with this newer version of the Pistons. All right, let's swing back to the Western Conference now. So teams that are in the running here, I guess, are the Lakers. Even though I'm a little dubious now because my man LeBron James is going to be out for the beginning of maybe the first month or so of the season. We could consider the Warriors here, the Grizzlies, the Mavericks. So out of the Clippers. So out of these teams that I have right here, I think that the team with the highest ceiling, well, obviously if everything was coming together, I would say the Warriors just because Luca and LeBron and they have better role players on the team this year as compared to last year. So I'm gonna go ahead and say the Lakers as the 5 seed, but I say that with kind of like, I don't know, a lot of my brain thinking about it because the Clippers look really good. I think the Clippers might be the better LA team potentially as a full team anyway, but it's also the unction, and I can't trust Kawhi Leonard to stay healthy to the level that he needs to throughout the entire season. Looking at the next team, where are we at? We are. I'm just skipping. I'm just doing two and then two. It seems like. Sorry, y'all. Sometimes I just get to yapping. Let's look at the 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. The 5 seed in the Eastern Conference, I got the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young's obviously going to do what he does, but now he's got all these defensive wings around him. He's got Jalen Johnson, who's going to take another leap this year. He's just a great all around forward that can really get to the basket and do the things that he does. He's got Porzingis to be that outlet and just create a ridiculous amount of space on the floor. Dyson Daniels coming back from a all defensive year last year, leading the NBA in steals. Let's see if he could do it again in another year with the Hawks. But all the length that they just have on the wings, it's perfect for Trae to have one of the best years of his entire career. Even though he didn't get that extension, which means he's in a contract year probably, which means he's gonna ball the fuck out. Trae Young, the Hawks, they're the 5 seed. I feel like there's a team here that I'm definitely missing that should be kind of obviously in the mix. The Bucks. Okay, I'm gonna go with the Bucks here. If Giannis is playing, it's just tough for me to see them be complete trash at the end of the day. So I'm gonna put the Bucks at 6 right here. At 7, I want to go with the Celtics right now. My problem is in a preseason game earlier this week, Jaylen Brown got hurt and he hurt his hamstring. And hamstring injuries are just very tricky. And he's had a history of hamstring injuries. And for example, James Harden had a hamstring injury that year that he was on the Nets, and him and Kevin Durant played the Bucks in the second round in that 7-game series. He did play through it, but he just looked kind of off, right? And he wasn't really a full version of himself. With those soft tissue injuries, they could kind of linger throughout the season as well. So you could think that you're good, come back a little bit too early, and then strain it again. And with no Jaylen Brown, this team is going down, down, baby. To about here, somewhere around there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So Jalen, we need you. Okay, for real. 7 seed in the Western Conference. I'm gonna go ahead and say that this is gonna be the Warriors. The Warriors with Jimmy Butler just looked really good last year, and I think a full season with Jimmy Butler, this team could get a lot of W's. They could be higher than this, to be honest, but all of this is really kind of arbitrary, specifically in the Western Conference where all these teams are so close together with how good they are. And the next team that I'm gonna go with let's go with the West. The next team for the West, I'm gonna go with the Grizzlies right here at the 8th seed. It seems like the Grizzlies are always kind of hovering around the 8th seed. Last year they actually weren't, and then they fired the coach, and then they ended up there. So you know, maybe this year with the coach having a full season under his belt, it'll just be a little bit better for them. And honestly, if Job was healthy, they could climb up the rankings. But right now, it's hard for me to have that full trust and belief in them. They also traded away Desmond Bain, and I'm kind of like iffy on what they got to replace that. So right now, I got the Grizzlies at 8, and the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference. I'm gonna go with the Philadelphia 76ers. And their season is already starting off with Paul George saying that he's probably gonna miss the season opener. Maybe that means that he comes back for game 2 for them. Embiid, on the other hand, may actually play in the first game, which would be kind of crazy, or he may not. You never know when Embiid's going to play. He pretty much said that himself in one of his press conferences or during a media day. It was one of those. So the 76ers are always going to be interesting as far as how far they could go in this specific season. Probably the max would be the second round, as it has been in years past. But, they have the biggest boomer bust potential in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion. Going on to the ninth seed in the Western Conference, I think this is where the Dallas Mavericks come in. This is a team that could definitely climb up here. I would say if they had Kyrie Irving for the entire season, then I might have them as high as the 4th seed, to be completely honest. But without him, I just don't know if they're going to have enough guard play to kind of go along with the diversity that Cooper Flag has given them at the wing position and the bigs that they have in Anthony Davis, Daniel Gafford, and what's my man's name? Derek Lively and Derek Lively. So yeah, uh, continuing on here, ninth seed in the Eastern Conference. I think this is where the Pacers comes in. Yeah, they're not gonna have Tyrese Halliburton, but I think that Nemhard's gonna step up a little bit. Not enough for them to be a lock in the East or anything like that, but there's also room in these teams. I would say 6 and below, 7 and below, potentially in the Eastern Conference, where it could be that these teams are the teams that are here, but they just kind of swap positions. Maybe the next team that I'm about to talk about would be in the mix right here as well. What I would say is for the Bucks specifically, if they're any lower than the 6th seed, like they're probably not gonna have Giannis on their team by the end of the year. You know what I'm saying? So continuing on, I think we're looking at the 10th seed in the West. The 10th seed in the West, I have the San Antonio Spurs. Yes, I do. And Victor Wembanyama coming out for year 3, I believe. Yeah, the Hornet, or what were they calling him? French Vanilla. Yeah, him and Cornet being the new Twin Towers. I'm just all here for it. I really like what I've seen from Derek Harper so far. I really want to see what De'Aaron Fox can do with a full like real season with this team, this young team around him, the rookie from last year, and just seeing this team kind of grow individually and kind of grow together. I think this is the year that they are in the play-in mix for real, at the very least. They obviously, with Victor Wembanyama being how dynamic and dominant that he can potentially be on both ends of the ball, they could literally be a team like the Rockets last year that surprises everyone and ends up in these top 3. Looking at the Eastern Conference again at the 10th seed, I think I'm going to go with the Heat here. Eric Spoelstra. Bam Adebayo, his girl just won the WNBA chip. You know he's going to try and ball out. You know he's been trying to chase that Defensive Player of the Year. Do I think he's going to get it this year? No, I think this is going to be the start of the reign for Victor Wembanyama, where he's just going to start swatting 5 blocks a game. But yeah, I got the Heat at 10. Next, I'm going to try and start speed running a little bit. Next, in the Western Conference, I think this is where the Suns come in. The Suns just missing it again would probably be crazy, to be honest. And I don't know if Devin Booker's just going to be in it for the long haul, if they just keep missing the play-in completely. Obviously, in years past, before the plan was a thing, it sucked when a team was really good, especially in the Western Conference, and they were potentially like even a 50-win team and missed the playoffs completely because they lost one more game or a couple more games than the 8th seed and they were the 9th seed. Nowadays, it's kind of a good thing that this plan thing happened because it keeps more teams feeling like they're in the mix and it just makes the end of the season that much more exciting, in my opinion. So again, I got the Phoenix Suns at 11 here, but I've been debating in my brain between them and another team that I'm sure I'll talk about in a second. So next up in the Eastern Conference, I think this is where I have the Toronto Raptors. But the Toronto Raptors, like I said, could be in this mix with these other teams right here in the 7 through 11, as far as they could all be switching around their positions, in my opinion. And potentially the Bucks be in there as well, just because the only reason why I'm giving the Bucks this extra respect is that none of these other teams that are below them have a player like Giannis playing this year at all. Embiid, potentially, if he actually came back and was 100% him, if he looks like how he looked last year, it's cooked. But I think that Embiid will look better than he looked last year, and we'll just have to see. Next up in the Western Conference, I think I'm gonna go with the Sacramento Kings here, which is kind of crazy. The West is just ridiculously stacked. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, I feel like Adam Silver is gonna have to just abolish. He's just gonna have to abolish the conferences because even though I love the East versus West thing, it just doesn't make sense at a certain point that we're gonna have some of these stinky teams in the Eastern Conference, and we're gonna have potentially who knows how many 50-win teams in the West this year, and so many teams that could be playoff teams in the East that are just going to be completely missing the play-in potentially in the West. And the Kings are one of those teams. They just signed Russell Westbrook. Now I think they're kind of a hodgepodge of a team, where a Frankenstein team, where they're just kind of freaking throwing whatever together, kind of. But I think that it's gonna be interesting for sure. I feel bad for Dennis Schroeder. Balled out during the offseason in the Eurobasket and just got his starting spot taken by Russell Westbrook, a former MVP. I mean, that's just how the game goes, you know what I mean? So looking at the next team for the Eastern Conference, I'm gonna go ahead and say that we got the Chicago Bulls here. The Bulls were very close to making the playoffs last year, so it feels kind of weird having them drop down to 12 right here. But the main reason that's happening is just I believe that the Heat probably will just be a little bit better, and the Raptors, they have Scotty having another year under his belt. They've got Brandon Ingram coming in to finally play some basketball, which is why I think that they could potentially like move up higher and be like as high as maybe the 7 or the 6 seed if everything was going well for them. Emmanuel quickly is overpaid, but it is what it is. Technically, no one's overpaid in the NBA. Like, get your money. But what I would say is, they paying him like he's an all-star damn near. All right, so next up in the Western Conference, I guess I have the Pelicans here, which it feels weird. This might be the biggest boom or bust team in the Western Conference because, man, if Zion is healthy and the rest of this team melds together around him, they could be this high. They could be this high in the mix for this top 6 seeds right here. And I kind of want to see it. I think that one of these old head teams, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Grizzlies, and not the Nuggets, definitely not the Nuggets, but one of those teams could definitely fall off this year. And I'm not gonna say I definitely want to see that happen, but seeing one of these new blood teams come in would be a little bit cool. I can't lie. With really specifically the Spurs, to be honest, but not including the Spurs, I would say the Trailblazers maybe or the Pelicans. The Pelicans right now, it's hard for me to have that belief in them because Zion just always got some shit going on that's not basketball. And yeah. So going on to the next team, I'm going too far, my bad. Going on to the next team, 13th in the Eastern Conference, I'm going to go ahead and put the Charlotte Hornets here. LaMelo, I really want to see you in the play-in again. I really want to see you playing some meaningful basketball again. But the teams that they putting around you are just not that good, my brother. I want to see LaMelo back in the play-in, so hopefully the Heat fall off. Hopefully the Heat fall off. And, maybe if Jaylen Brown is really hurt and the Celtics fall down a little bit, some of these other teams will be in the mix for this one particular year. But then the Celtics will be good again next year. Also, this is me not factoring in if Jason Tatum comes back. I wasn't even really thinking about that just now. Maybe it'd be good for him to start getting some of that rust away early so he gets the feeling back. But this is just kind of a murky year for the Celtics if he does do that, I feel like, because they're going to be playing all one way for the beginning part of the season and then have to do a hard adjust when Jason Tatum comes, if that were the case. All right, so next up in the Western Conference, I got the Trailblazers. Part of me wants to put them higher than this, but at the end of the day, the West is just super stacked. I mean, look at these teams, yeah. I'm gonna have to go with them. They don't have Damian Lillard playing yet, and they got a team that's full of young players and role players, and that's pretty much it. And whatever Jeremy Grant is. So in the Eastern Conference, this is where I have the Nets, the Brooklyn Nets, and just to round this out, the Utah Jazz and the Washington Wizards are the last two teams. I don't think I need to say too much here, to be honest. I'm not, so I won't. All right, taking it back from the top real quick. Starting with the Western Conference, I have the OKC Thunder number 1, the Rockets number 2, the Nuggets number 3, Timberwolves 4, Lakers 5, Clippers 6, Warriors 7, Grizzlies 8, Mavs 9, Spurs 10, Suns 11, Kings 12, Pelicans 13, Trailblazers 14, Jazz 15. And in the Eastern Conference, I have the New York Knicks number 1, Cleveland Cavaliers number 2, the Magic number 3, the Pistons number 4, the Hawks number 5, the Bucks number 6, the Celtics number 7, the 76ers at 8, the Pacers 9, the Heat 10, the Raptors 11, the Bulls 12, the Hornets 13, the Nets 14, and the Wizards at the bottom. That being said, that's my standings. Let me know what you agree with, what you disagree with, who's egregious, who should definitely be higher, who should definitely be lower. Like the video, subscribe for more content like this, and let's go because the NBA season is back, baby.